Sorry guys, I know you're spooky. And I go like this and I know that sound. See him? PTSD will be with me forever. And I'll just have to cope with it in my own way. You try to find peace, but you're always on the edge. Feeding some of the quail gives me some peace of mind. My belief is that everybody should serve in one capacity or another, whether it be Peace Corps or whatever. I think everybody ought to serve something. I think they should have the opportunity also to give back to their freedom in the United States. I knew I should serve something in some capacity or another. I joined the military and the Army. I was drafted. I let them draft me. I was drafted in 1968. I had read a lot of books on Vietnam because I knew I was probably going to go. I was a person that was more aware of what was going on in Vietnam than most. I was not against the war. I figured we were doing something for the people of Vietnam and basically anti-communistic type affairs. Then they sent me to a military academy in Fort Benning, Georgia as a 11F, and what that is I worked in operations and intelligence planning. And went from there to just an OJT in Fort Collins, Colorado, and then right straight to Vietnam. When I went in the 1st Division in Vietnam, I was the colonel's sergeant making military plans and operations at a fire support base. And we did all the from anywhere from map overlays to whatever, and then we planned military operations from that to send the regular troops out into the field. However, the 1st Division went home the 1st of February of 1970, and from then I got sent into the Green Berets, 1st Green Berets, and I got kicked out of the Green Berets because I never had jump school, and they made me a Long Range Recon, and so I was in the 101st Division after that. Main job of recon was to go find where the enemy was. Generally 5-man team is all we had, and we snuck. We were quiet. We tried to be invisible, and I was the team leader. We were in heavy combat a lot. It was hell. It was hell. We were up north near the DMZ, and we worked the Ashaw Valley, and we worked the near Quezon, and we worked a lot up there in northern I-Corps. We went by helicopter almost entirely. Most of the time I was packing about 100 pounds. And so we carried a lot of ammunition and explosives. We took on the NVA Army, and we took on their special forces. We even ran into their dog teams that would track you, and they were after us and we were after them. We went on a landing zone and walked the trail just a little ways, and I smelled the NVA. I smelled them, and the point man got scared, and he says, I can't go any further. And I said, I will. So I went a little bit closer, and I said, man, that's strong smell. I said, we're turning back. And I ran into one guy that was ambushing us, and I snuck up on him, basically on the side of the trail. And we were probably 8-10 feet apart when the shooting started, and I dove at him. And he had his gun on full auto, and I had mine on full auto. And I think what happened was all the bullets went right over the top of my head. And he got scared and turned around and ran, didn't reload. And I reloaded, and he was running through the jungle, yelling, top of his lungs. And I was firing shots at him in 3-round bursts. And all of a sudden, it stopped. And I'm sure I shot him through the head. Firebase Ripcord was a deal. They were constantly getting attacked and trying to be overrun. And it was a terrible, terrible firebase. It was, but they put me on a hilltop overlooking the firebase. They were pounding Ripcord with their mortars and whatever they had. And what I was trying to do was hit them with 155 artillery shells from their point of positions down there in the draw. About every 15 minutes, they would be firing, and then I would be firing at them. And I was trying to get it to the point where I was going to fire the 155 arties right before they were going to fire at the fire support base. And I did that for 3 or 4 days. We called in the F-4 Phantoms, it was the main jets at the time. And I called them all in, and I kept them coming. In Vietnam, I was wounded by a NVA sniper that jumped out of a hole and fired a burst of 30 rounds at our 5-man team. And I was the only one that got hit. And I got hit, and it shot off at a glancing blow. It shot off my left eyebrow, which left me for about 3 days blinking and such as that. I was treated in the field, so I never got a Purple Heart from it. But anyway, I was hit, and yeah, I was hit, and in that, and they thought I was dead. I wasn't. I was lucky. I was a survivor. Was I a hero? I don't really think I'm the hero. I'm a survivor. I got an early out to be a police officer in Washington, D.C. Time I was in combat until I was in Washington, D.C. was probably 2 to 3 weeks. I was in police academy. Yeah. I went from one war zone to another type of a war zone in Washington, D.C. during the riots.
Some 175,000 people from all walks of life with differing ideologies and purposes marched from the White House to the Capitol. These militant and violence-prone members of the New Left decided that the style, discipline, and tactics of peaceful assembly were no longer acceptable.
They put me on a riot patrol deal in downtown Washington, D.C., and during the 1971, and when all the protesters were in there. I was also in there guarding monuments, and one of them was at the Lincoln Memorial that one day. We were going to guard the monument with our lives. Nobody was going to get up there. Nobody was going to get up there. We would have defended that to the death. Very dangerous time being a cop in Washington, D.C. We were really in the thick of things then at that time. So there were so many people and so many riots and rioters going on that we just had to protect everything, and we did. We protected everything. We were not going to falter. I think I was right up there, about right at the base there, and I think just about where that couple is standing, I think I was right there. Yeah. In October, I left D.C., and when the job came open with the railroad police, it was the first police job that came open. I took it. I was stationed in Portland, Oregon. We had a lot of thefts out in the Clackamas area at the time. So I was out there just snooping around, and I encountered a guy in an empty boxcar, and I thought he was drunk. I got him on the ground, and all of a sudden his eyes went wild and his pupils dilated, and I thought he was going to hit me. Well, what he did is he went for his gun that was in his right pocket, jacket pocket, and I jumped on the gun, and according to the police radio and everything, we had an 8-minute knockdown, drag-out fight. I think I broke his nose and broke some bones in his hand during the fight, and he had me pretty well beat up. He got shooting at me, and I was hit. I was hit in the sleeve of the arm. I was hit in between the legs. I was shot in the belt buckle. I got all 6 shots off going to the ground with the .357 Magnum. I hit him 4 times out of 6, and he looked at me and said, "You won the chess match," and he went to the ground. Of course, he was dead on his feet. Yeah, but yeah, that was March 31st of '76. Yeah. I spent about 22 years in law enforcement. I knew the day I got out of Vietnam, I had PTSD. I can tell you basically everything that I did there. It's fresh in my mind. I'm proud I did it, and I'm really sad that all the guys that were around me, especially in the 101st, did not make it. They gave it all. So many did not survive at all, and I don't even know their names.